Hi, Meg.
Hey, Anne-Claire. How's it
How are
going?
you?
I'm doing so good. Really pumped. I have delicious coffee today. I have coffee with maple creamer in there. And then I sprinkled some cinnamon and sugar on top. So this is like fall fest in my mouth.
You've taken your coffee very seriously this morning.
I did. And I've been doing this all week. And it is
That's
now
good.
Oh my God. Well, I'm in fall mode. Do you
In
get
case
into
we couldn't
fall?
tell.
Do you get into fall mode? Like, does this?
Yeah, I
is
mean,
this a
so
thing?
far that has translated in me having a lot of apples.
Wow.
I know it sounds like a random thing.
Living it up over there.
Listen, the apples are particularly good right now in the store, like especially the gala apples. So I'm very picky about which ones I like. Okay. And so the gala apples are particularly delicious right now. So like porridge with apples and cinnamon and maple syrup is just mwah. Currently husband on repeat. So yeah, that's my thing. Also, I've gotten into grating the apple into like yogurt or porridge. I don't know why, but I just tried it once and then I was like, this is nicer than chopping it. So now I'm grating it.
Easier, fun, yummy to eat.
And easier, I don't know. It's the same amount of complexity.
Really? I feel like it's easier. So this is a very important announcement. So fall is the best time for baked goods, I must say. Like there's nothing more fun than getting a cute little coffee and like your favorite croissant or favorite baked good and sitting on a bench on a nice sunny fall day and like the crisp fall air and enjoying that. It's a very experiential, wonderful thing. This is my important opinion. I think I'm right. I'm just right with this. And so,
just FYI, everyone,
I do have
this is the right way to do it.
I'm right. And the thing that I have to say here is that I have actually realized my favorite pastry has changed. It is no longer an almond croissant. I have switched. It is now an apple tart, 100%, with like the apple like finely sliced and there's like a little sugar or honey or something baked on top and there's like a crisp like delicious pastry underneath. That is my new favorite pastry.
Well, if you're you should try it in the evening time as a dessert. And you should pour some Calvados or cognac on top, but flambe it. So like put it on fire and like put it a little bit on top and then add to that, because that's going to like warm it up. And then add to that a little bowl of vanilla ice cream and then have a little glass of the alcohol you used to flambe it. Mwah.
Wow. Are you like a chef?
No, but I know how to enjoy my food now.
You have a flambe machine at your house? Like,
you don't need a machine. You just need a match. You need to warm up the alcohol and then you just need a match or like a lighter.
Oh, I'm picturing the torch on the Food Network that's like, bzzz, and there's like a little fire and they burn, they crisp the top.
You could, but that's not what I have.
Okay, because I was like picturing myself like holding my tart up to a match and I was like, this is kind of awkward.
No, so basically what you do is you warm up the alcohol in like a little like a saucer pot thingy and then you can light it when it's still on there and then you pour it on top of the dessert.
Got it. That's cool. You know, it is my favorite pastry now. I'm willing to try it in all shapes and forms.
You should also try it on a pancake, like the French kind, you know, the crepe, you know, the big one. And like cook the apples like in slices in a pan. And you can even then just like dump the alcohol there and light them in the pan and then put them on the crepe and then put a little bowl of vanilla ice cream. Yummy.
Wow, that sounds delicious. I'm going to try both. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about starting recovery. So, it's not an easy one, and anyone considering to start, please stay with us, number one, and don't wait until you're ready. And this is the first step. I just had to.
I really like held my breath for a second. Like I had a lot of anticipation.
I mean, here's the thing. The reason why we start with don't wait until you're ready is because I'm not sure there is a moment where one can just be like, yeah, you know what? I'm 100% ready for this thing. I've never bumped into someone that felt that way. And to an extent, it just doesn't really make sense. I mean, eating disorders are there for a reason. Eating disorders have functions. It's really like tricky, right? Like once you're in the spot where you're like, ooh, I'm naming the possibility that I might not be well, there's still so much to figure out that, of course, I expect there to be a level of uncertainty, of fear, of doubt. And so I don't want you watching this and wondering, how to start recovery. I don't want you to tell yourself, oh, but I'm not really ready yet. Right. And I just want you to hear, you don't need to be ready, right? Like to start, you need to be willing to show up for yourself. But that doesn't mean having no doubt, no uncertainty, no fear, right? So please do not make it a condition to feel ready, because a part of you might just never make that possible.
And also, you don't, like, all of you doesn't have to want it. Like, there is probably never a moment where someone starts recovery and the whole person is like, all of me wants recovery right now. Like, there's going to be parts of you that really don't want to do the work and don't want to eat the food. And so just remember, like, if that's what you're waiting for, that's probably not going to happen. And people use this, I need to be ready, kind of as a excuse to never start. Like, and it's also very controlling. Like they want, okay, this has to be in place and this has to be in place and this thing. And I have to make sure that this event isn't happening. And I have to be at this place. It's actually a form of over controlling your environment. And that will probably never come.
Now,
right?
To be fair, I wish, because like when we get into the nitty gritty right here of the things that might be building that internal resistance to starting, there are certain things that are very fair to say, right? I wish everyone would have the exact support system that they need in that time, that they have the kind of energy, that they have the kind of setup, that there is no event thing happening that is in their way. We're not saying that it's not reasonable to wish that the context was easier or that blah, 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 list whatever things. That is not what we're saying. What we're saying is if you enter into this listing of barriers, a part of you will always find something to list on there. And that's not fair to the other part of you that already has the intuition and the inner knowing that something isn't quite right.
Love that one. That's so true, Anne-Claire. So true. So, do we want to do number 2?
Sure. I mean, as much as we don't want you to wait until you're ready to start, we also don't want you to wait until you feel like you're sick enough, right? And please, sick enough, quote unquote, sick enough. So the term sick enough has been like very popular in the last few years. And I think Dr. Jennifer Gaudiani is part of the reason for that and her amazing book. But here's the thing, right? I cannot tell you how often I bump into someone or someone sort of like messages me on Instagram or sends an email. It's like, I'm not sure I'm like that bad. Or like, I'm not sure, it's really an eating disorder, or I'm not sure, it could be worse. And it's like, listen. If you're wondering, right, whether or not you have an eating disorder, if you're already in the spot where you're like, yeah, my relationship with food and my body and movement is kind of icky and limiting and just doesn't feel super comfortable, and you're watching this video, there are plenty of reasons for you to reach out and do something about it. And actually, us in the field kind of look at this thought of I'm not sick enough as a literal symptom.
That's actually funny. I haven't thought of it like a symptom, but I love that.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if I had to make a checklist of what I expect someone to tell me, you know, when I bump into them or when they talk to me for the first time, like, I could put in there, like, I'm not sure I'm sick enough as one of the things that would sort of point to the fact that, yeah, you probably are. I mean, no one who is, you know, like, I don't know what word to use here, but like, no one who is suffering from anything would be like, but am I like struggling enough here? Like, that is not a super neutral, normal, healthy, supportive way to be with yourself and your human experience.
Yeah.
Is it? Right? Like someone being like, well, you know, I'm in pain and I'm suffering, but that's not enough yet. Like, I don't expect someone who is like in a mentally healthy state to sort of use that, you know, as a criteria to like access help or not. Yeah. You know, and in that sense, I kind of see it as a symptom.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I actually heard this phrase once. It was like, I don't even know, I might botch it, but it's like, pain is necessary, suffering is optional. Right? And so if you are suffering, like, and you notice that, you have every right to take care of yourself now. Right? And you have every right. And if you don't feel like you're, quote, sick enough, we don't want you to be at your sickest to find help. Like, we don't want you to explore the darkest, deepest depths of your eating disorder. You don't have to do that. You can get help now. You know,
I have a note on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I have many thoughts on that quote on the pain and the suffering, but on this like rock bottom thing, here's the issue. I used to tell myself that, and somehow I managed to always redefine what rock bottom looked like. Yeah. I was like, yeah, but now there's this, but it could be worse. And it's like, when is it going to stop? Like, when is it going to stop? Like literally, not only do we not need, because it's harder, right? It is harder to help you if you're deeper in the hole, but also I expect it to be possible for you to redefine what the bottom of that hole is, because I did it for a long time. I was like, it's not well, man. Like, if that happens, then it'll be bad. And then I did that. I was like, it's not that bad. If that happens, then it'll be bad. And it's like, okay, girl, like, how long do we want to go with that one? Like, clearly, a part of you is redefining that over and over and over again. How far do you want to really take it?
And you have a higher likelihood of recovery the sooner you get help. So if you actually want to get better, like, don't wait to be sick enough, right? If that's the mentality you feel like you're subscribing to, it's like, there's no need to wait. If you want to feel better, your chances of recovery are highest today. So something to think about.
Yes.
Okay. Want to do number 3?
Sure. I feel like I'm starting all of them, but I'll go for it. Number 3, please reach out for help until you get the help that you deserve. Now, I wish I didn't have to add the second part of that sentence, but that's the reality. So reaching out as early as possible, like we just said, we're not going to wait until we're ready. We're not going to wait until we feel sick enough and whatever. Reaching out for help as early as possible will make the biggest difference in your recovery journey. The earlier, the better. But like I said, unfortunately, the reality is that not a lot of people really understand mental health and especially eating disorders. We're talking about something that is still highly stigmatized, and that's going to be even more true for certain like humans out there than for others. And because so many behaviors are normalized in society, you might even bump into people who sort of like minimize what's going on for you. So it's not just reach out. It's reach out until you have people who take you seriously, who listen, and figure out what the next steps can be. And that being said, there are different like directions in which it could go. And I don't know, do you want me to already like go into the different directions? Like, keep
you
talking.
mean like the questions you might want to ask yourself?
Yeah, but even like the categories like of people, right? Because like maybe you want to start with like going online and looking at, organizations or like foundations in the eating disorder field that have some information out there on eating disorders. It can be helpful to sort of find words to put on what you're experiencing, right? Because at the start, it can be really hard to know how to say the things. Like I remember years ago when I finally reached out to a therapist, I watched so many YouTube videos on eating disorders and read a lot so that I could put more words on what was actually going on. Like, here's how I'm feeling, I think. I'm not sure, but here's how it looks like. Here's what's going on. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what it seems like it could be. And that helped me go then in real life, seek help better. Plus, some of those like charities, foundations, organizations might also have like hotlines or like texting or email support that you could access anonymously and at no cost. So that could be like one direction of help that you go towards. Beyond that, of course, like if you have a GP, like a family doctor or someone, hopefully that could be someone that you sort of go towards and or friends and family. But this is where it can get tricky as well, right? Whether we're talking about medical professionals or loved ones, this is where we bump into that thing that I said earlier about like people don't really know and they might minimize or sort of like overlook or have like these thoughts about what someone with an eating disorder looks like, and which is bullshit. But unfortunately, there are such stereotypes out there, etc. So this is where it can get kind of tricky and where it might be helpful to have like a few ways to identify who to reach out to. Yeah. I just realized I've been talking for like forever and I'm like, Anne-Claire, just pause and let Meg talk maybe.
This is a point of growth for you, Anne-Claire. To pause. But no.
I'm used to my cooking chats, okay? Like I'm used to speaking on my own for an entire hour.
You were saying some really valuable things there. And I think it's really important that, it's almost like how do I phrase this?
See, this is why I was talking.
And looking for help with someone with like eating disorder recovery support, it's almost like they're guilty until proven innocent with like their diet culture crimes, right? Like if they are going to be like, you really want to look like, okay, you found a therapist in your area. That therapist could be really harmful when it comes to eating disorder recovery, mentality, knowledge, expertise. Like, so you really owe it to yourself to find someone who is specialized in eating disorder recovery, because 9 out of 10 times your average therapist will probably not be trained in eating disorders and probably be subscribing to some sort of diet culture mentality that's maybe very insidious and comes into your sessions. So you really want to ask yourself like a few questions to know, like, is this person going to be supportive for my recovery? Are they trained? Are they knowledgeable? In America, we have Psychology Today. Therapists and mental health counselors can just say they're like specialized in eating disorders, even though they have no training. So, is this person talking about dieting in your sessions? That's a big red flag. Are they commenting on your body or other people's body sizes? Are they like fat phobic? Are they dieting themselves? Like, do they hold views on what good foods are versus bad foods are? Like, these are all important things to kind of look into and notice, because if they are in this mentality, it's going to be confusing because you're going to be getting mixed signals and mixed messages from everyone in your team. So you could consider finding someone else. And I know that's really difficult. And I know a lot of people have limited resources, limited access to folks. So this is something where it requires some persistence, in refining your search and not giving up hope. There are people out there who can help.
Now, this is also something where maybe some people around you can help you with the search. And there are some criteria that we can sort of like share so that it's maybe easier. Like if you look at the medical side of things and the therapists and whatnot, like if you see that they clearly state like, I am an eating disorder counselor, and they have like specific qualifications for it, then that can be helpful. If they specifically state that they work under a HACE informed lens, if they specifically state that they are weight inclusive, like those are the sorts of things that you can sort of like be on the lookout for. But also don't forget that when it comes to reaching out, sometimes, the professionals are already like 2 steps further, and you can start with the people around you. But even then, all that Meg just said still applies, right? So if you're like, okay, so I'm going to start talking about this to someone, right? Maybe I've found a few words to put on what I'm experiencing, and I'm going to talk to a friend or a family person. Please make sure that you sort of aim for the safest humans around, right? So again, like same things as you just said, Meg, right? Like, please don't go to someone who often talks about their latest diets or comments on people's bodies or has opinions about like healthy, good, bad foods. Go to someone who has shown and proven to you over the years as a friend or as a family member that they're good at listening and at empathizing with others or with you, that have proven that they're trustworthy and reliable. Because even if they don't quite understand what's going on, if they're a good listener, if they're able to empathize with you, if they're trustworthy, then that can actually be enough for you to have found a first ally who can then help you figure it out, right? And continue seeking additional help. So please make sure that you consider like the smaller circles and the existing humans around you as well, especially if it's hard to find those professionals directly, depending on the country that you live in.
So, such a good point. And remember that the people in your close-knit circle, some people are going to be more helpful at certain things than others, right? You might have someone in your family who is great at financially supporting you. Let them be that person. They do not have to be the person you talk about your emotions with or your traumas with or your fear foods with, or, recognize the strengths and weaknesses of your circle and make sure you're asking the right people for the help that they're best able to give.
Mm-hmm. So. Yes. Yes to all of that. Now, our next sort of like step or piece that we would suggest for you to consider is make the most of any kind of available resource around you. And by that, we're trying to mean 3 things: books, recovered people or like recovered professionals, and communities. Because here's the thing, like we already mentioned, like I'm going to start with the second one because like why not start in order? This is on me. I did not list these in a logical order, but we just mentioned professionals, right? And I'm not saying that you have to be a recovered professional to like be a helpful professional. Not at all. However, here's a source of hope and like a hug to the soul is knowing that other people have been in your shoes and have found their way through. I find that extremely like energizing and inspiring and reassuring, right? Like finding people that prove to you that this isn't a you thing. Like it's not, I'm just wrong and I'm right? This way that we have, I certainly had, to sort of like isolate myself and make myself the exception and blame myself. So when we can find these examples of people who have gone through this thing, whether they're just like a human, or a peer, or they're also like a professional, could be a combination of both, like you and I, that can be helpful, right? Like make sure that you include that in the resources that you allow yourself to have access to, especially because some of those will be maybe available at a lower cost and more easily, right? And if it comes to like hearing stories and other people's sort of like experience through this, that's something that you might actually be able to find online in blog posts, on social media, etc. Books, I mean, there are a few books out there that are quite nice. I mean, please be careful when you choose them. But top tip, 8 Keys to Recovery from an Eating Disorder by Carolyn Costin and Gwen Grab. Very biased opinion, but I don't care. It's an excellent book and it's an excellent workbook. You know, that can be also another way to sort of start finding your way through. Again, it's something that costs much less than maybe going, you know, full blown for like a meeting, an appointment or something. And it can maybe be the thing that sort of helps you start. The books actually start with, you know, making space for meeting yourself where you're at and exploring, okay, am I in this pre-contemplative phase? Am I contemplating change? And it can actually really help sort of start where you are, right? And it might feel like that's more accessible than sort of jumping into, you know, bigger steps. And then I mentioned community, but I'm going to let you talk about that.
Love it. Well, you did a lot. You did mention a lot about community already, but.
Well, I'm thinking about a specific community.
Oh, I got the hint now. Okay, great. I will say, like, the cool thing about books too is they sometimes validate your experience and like reassure you that, you know, you are sick enough and you can get the help, you know, you should get the help. So love a good recovery book, love a good book in general. So what I'm going to say about community support, obviously, we all are aware at this point, maybe you're not. Meg, did I just refer to myself? I meant to say Anne-Claire. Are we the same? Anne-Claire and I are the co-founders of the Recovery Collective, which is our online eating disorder recovery community. And we provide tons of cost-effective virtual support to people all around the world. Anything from workshops to gentle yoga to Nourish and Learns with a dietitian. They're all on there. And I think the most special piece about the community, although we give so much content and so much support, it's really the people in there. Like being able to find people that you know are going through similar things who can relate to you on a deep level is very healing, right? And it's actually very motivating to be around people who also want to recover, and supporting other people who want to recover actually strengthens your healthy self as well. So there are so many reasons why community is helpful. And I wanted to bring it to our last tip of the day, which is number 5. That is to take action. And we're not saying that none of this is taking action. All of these things require some sort of action, some sort of step in the right direction. But what we want to call out here is taking action with food specifically, because I've seen this trap a million times. People are reading all the books, listening to the podcasts, actually forming a team, actually going to therapy and doing all those things, but they are not taking action with food. So you're not going to recover fully until you can heal your relationship with food and eat adequately, regularly, with variety, all of the things that you need to do. I know it's probably one of the scariest pieces of recovery, but it is imperative that you actually take action. And you can use a coach or someone on your team to set goals around, what you want to be challenging. So that's my little 2 cents on the taking action piece.
I love it. I mean, this is where I want to remind people that it's called an eating disorder. We know that it's not about the food. We know that, the underlying reasons and the functions and all of that, we know it goes way beyond. And we know that if you are just starting, the idea of doing something about your food behaviors is probably going to scare the bejesus out of you. Fair enough. And we're not saying just go ahead and do everything and yada yada. We're only pointing out the fact that even though it's not all about the food, and even though you're not going to do everything now, it is an eating disorder. You need to address the food bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all.
That's it.
Gentle nudge, gentle little.
Yeah. Just here to kind of gently call out that that's a trap people fall into. And we want to see you making changes in that department. You got to have the food. You got to eat the food. You got to heal that part of the disorder. It's crucial. So those are our 5 tips for starting recovery. Thank you, everybody, for listening today and watching. We're so grateful that you've joined us for season 2 of the Meg Anne-Claire show. And Anne-Claire, thank you for being so lovely.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye, everybody. Mwah.